Welcome to Art with Miss Rickard. Today you are going to be learning about lines and shapes, one of our elements of art. There are actually 7. Today we're going to talk about the first 2. So I want to start off by showing you a quote by Henri Matisse, one of my personal favorite artists. He said, "Drawing is putting a line around an idea." This is a beautiful statement that describes exactly what happens with art. You can put a line on paper and all of a sudden you have expressed an idea. Let's take a look at 2 of his early drawings of women. These are both considered line drawings. Without using very many shapes, he is describing the look of a woman's face, her arm, her shoulders, all of it with a continuous line. These lines rarely close and connect, so we really are looking at a line drawing instead of one that uses many shapes. The word line actually means to show movement. A line describes how a pen, pencil, or paintbrush can move across the paper. You can follow the line of her shoulder as it bends down and curves across her back. The line actually shows movement to drawing. There are many different types of lines. Lines can be straight, squiggly, polka dot, zigzag. They could have dashes, or they could look like fish scales. They could be the top of a castle wall. Sometimes you see loop-to-loops, bounces like hump day or swirls. There are so many types of lines, but all different lines show movement. In this example, start with the color blue and let your eyes follow the line as it goes from blue to purple to yellow to green. Did you notice that your eyes are moving up and down and they are twisting and curling as you follow those colors? This is exactly what a line does. A line shows movement. Now let's try putting some of these lines together. Here we go. We'll just use some straight lines. 1, 2, 3. Right now, we have 3 straight lines. But if I use another straight line and close them all together, I end up with a shape. Let's try this one. We have a line, and if I close them, we end up with another shape. One more time. Line, 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 and if we close them, we end up with another shape. Here we see a green square, a pink triangle, and a blue trapezoid. When lines close, they create shapes. Sometimes those shapes have names and sometimes they don't. Let's take a look at artwork by Wassily Kandinsky. We see here many different types of lines and shapes. Take a look for a moment. I'm sure if you take some time, you can see straight lines, bumpy lines, wavy lines. There are lots of shapes, including many, many circles, some rectangles and triangles and squares. This artwork isn't really about a picture. It's not about a person or a clock or a landscape. It's just about lines and shapes and colors. We call this type of artwork abstract. Let's take a look at another one of his paintings. Here we see even more shapes. We see shapes like circles and squares, and all together they come together to create this work of art that is all about colors and shapes. Let's check out another abstract artist, Pierre Mondrian. Ooh, this almost looks like a computer did it, but I promise you it is a painting. Pierre Mondrian likes to use straight lines and very, very straight shapes. What we see here are these straight lines coming together to make squares and rectangles. And he also used a color family, which we learned about last week, the primary color family with reds, blues, and yellows. Again, this is another example of abstract art using lines and shapes as the center of its focus. But we have one more artist here, back to my original favorite, Henri Matisse. He is a master of collage work with cut paper. Here we see a lot of different shapes. Some of them have names and some of them do not. Some look more like rectangles or squares, but not exactly. Artwork featuring shapes and lines and colors without really making a picture is abstract, and these examples have been more abstract artwork than anything. Time for some practice. At home, you're going to find some art materials. Well, wait a minute. Most of you don't have that many art materials. You might have some, but I'm guessing a lot of us at home don't have everything an artist would. So let's get rid of that and think about the things we might have. If you've got scissors, paper, and glue, you might be able to create a collage using lines and shapes like this. Basic shapes of buildings could be squares or rectangles, maybe even a trapezoid. You also want to draw on top of those with some lines to decorate windows and doors. You can be creative with this. This would be a good example of a way to use collage to show shapes and lines in a work of art. Now, maybe you're lucky and you have some paint supplies at home. Well, try your hand at one of those Wassily Kandinsky paintings. Separate your paper into squares and show some circles inside. You don't have to do circles. Maybe you use shapes that are your personal favorite. But again, this is just an idea of how you could create artwork that focuses on lines and shapes. Now for one more idea, if you have markers, crayons, and colored pencils, you might enjoy one of these different examples. The first one being based on purple and yellow patterns, we see some basic geometric shapes and then lines splitting them up. If you color this in a true pattern, it creates an optical illusion that tricks your eyes into thinking that the picture is 3D. If you have pretty good coloring skills, that might be a fun one to try. The second picture is modeled after P.A. Mondrian, his artwork that showed squares and then primary colors. The idea behind that example is to draw some of your favorite shapes, allowing them to crisscross in areas, and then picking a color family to color in areas that overlap. You don't have to model this one exactly the same. You can have some individual choice here. The last artwork example is a doodling example. There's so much fun you can have with just drawing shapes and lines. You can create doodles, you can create patterns. You can really let your imagination soar. I would love to see anything you guys create. Please don't forget to send me your pictures either through email or through your online canvas. I would absolutely love to see your creativeness. However, keep in mind that the lesson is about lines and shapes. Make sure you send me those pictures. I can't wait to see what you've done. And until next time, go have some fun.